Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. It is more ghost stories with Sister Sue, and I'm afraid we might be repeating one because last time I was here, I think we taped this like 8 times and none of it came out right. And I don't even remember why. We taped one in the car and it was really funny, and then it was too loud in the car. But we're upstairs at Susie's house where it's 1,000 degrees, and but I hope you can hear the crickets because that'll make it sound more like a ghost story, right?
It will, but I'm dubious. We'll hang the microphones out the window at the end for all you people
that want that feeling. Oh, and there's the dog. There's the dog outside. And real quick, let me do some housework. This is called housework. Folks, send me your stories. Send me your conspiracy theories. Somebody contacted me that has been possessed, and I can't wait to talk to them. And give me a review wherever you listen to me. Please give me a review. I'm up to 80 reviews on iTunes, which I hope is going to be more. Is that where your microphone was?
It was there. You think it's too low?
Yeah. Well, I think it's pointing in there, that way, to the side. Okay. There. All this stuff we should have done before. And 2 listeners have suggested guests that have been fantastic. So, Paranormal Karen at gmail.com or my website or wherever. And you can book a reading there and whatnot. And the last weekend of October, me and Lamont doing the tarot show, the psychic stand-up show, special Halloween show. All right. So how have you been, Sue?
Really good. I've been great.
Oh, good. Well, the listeners probably want to know what you've been up to.
Well, I'm retired now, so I haven't been doing much. I've been gardening. I've been keeping track of my parents, which isn't hard because you just repeat what they've said.
Yes.
And then they say it again, and then you repeat it again.
And you also are teaching knitting to people of dementia.
Just
right?
one.
Just one.
Yes. But that's she already knows knitting. It's just new sometimes when we do it again.
That's good. And we're so we shouldn't have too many break-ins tonight, but I say we get to it right away.
Let's do it.
Okay, what's the first story?
All right. Don't use last name, it says on this one.
Okay.
So what do we say? Betty and somebody? Doesn't matter now,
Betty
does it?
And
we don't
Betty
care.
and we have the same name for all the men, and I
Not
can't
Tom.
remember.
We don't know.
No.
But that's okay. That's why we take after our parents.
We'll change Betty's to Penelope's. So this is from Penelope.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Okay.
Okay. After we moved into our townhome, things slowly started to change. That was courage if you could hear him. He's snoring. I always hear him when I listen to the podcast, and now
Do
I
you?
know.
Oh.
Yeah, I know your mics are pretty good because he's like a mile away.
You can
but
hear
bet it picked it up. Okay, here we go. Back to business. My husband worked nights, which left me and our daughter home alone at night. We would hear noises, and I just assumed it was because it was a new place. One night, my husband was at work. My daughter and I were downstairs watching our TV. Our TV started to get a little fuzzy, kind of like a bad satellite connection, only we don't have satellite TV. Oh, no. A small ball of light. Holy cow. I thought it was a bat. That would be bad. A small ball of light came floating down the stairs and into the living room. Then it got really big and bright, and then it just disappeared. At first, I thought it was just me, so I didn't say anything. And then my daughter looked at me and asked, "Did you see that?" And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, so it's not just me. You saw that too?" The next day I was telling my husband, and he called me a hopeless romantic, just dreaming all this up. I know. Was she dreaming that would happen to her?
I know. I wish she would dream bigger if she was a hopeless romantic.
I know.
I dream of white lights floating.
Oh, no. He said that I wanted a ghostly experience that I was imagining and seeing things. Okay. A few weeks later, he changed his mind. Okay, let's find out what happened there. It was the weekend and we were all home. Our daughter was upstairs and my husband and I were downstairs, again, watching TV. My daughter came out of the bathroom and walked into her bedroom, and as soon as her door closed, I heard someone call out her name twice. I had gotten used to things now, so I didn't acknowledge it, but my husband sure did. His eyes got huge. His mouth dropped open and he looked at me and said, "Did you hear that?" And I looked at him and I said, yes. Are you going to believe me now? Look at that. She's picking a fight rather than worried about her daughter's safety.
Well, you know what else? I have a question, though. So
what is that?
She didn't react when she heard someone else say her daughter's name?
That's what I mean. Oh. And then it says, she wrote, my daughter's bedroom door opens up and she yells down, did you call me? What did you want? Yeah, this is getting quite something.
This is a good one.
This is. My husband, being so excited, goes running upstairs to tell my daughter it wasn't us. Of course, he tells her that it lives in her closet because dads love to scare their kids. Good job. I knew it wasn't my mom, but I told my daughter that it was her grandma just checking in to make sure she was okay. From this day forward, we have had a female ghost, and we think she's in her late teens to early 20s. We have moved to another condo, and she has made her presence known here too. So that would be somebody
so she's
moving with
her. Yeah.
Oh. Currently, we have been having spirits stop by.
Oh.
Some are kind of like watchers that give you the creeps, and some, you can feel the negativity in the air. The last visitor was about a week ago. My bedroom is always cool and smells like essential oils. Or my lotions. But the other night, I opened the door, and the room felt heavy and kind of humid and thick. I knew someone was in there and wanted to stay. I sprinkled some lavender and thieves' essential oil around the room, and it seemed to lift. My daughter was at work, so I sent her a text to give her a heads up. She said that when she got home, the thickness was in the hallway at the top of our stairs. She made sure that she had her tiger's eye and tourmaline stones with her.
Yep.
Take care.
Those are very smart people.
They are, but there's a lot of up in the air, like, for me.
Oh, you mean where you
I would like to hear from you again.
You know what else, though? I bet these people, we got this before I did, I taped these out of order sometimes, but we got this story before I did the podcast with Tracy Huffman, who talked about, she had a real demonic thing in her house and how she got rid of it. And exactly what they're doing is how she got rid of it.
Man.
Yes. So good work there, Penelope's.
Yes, Penelope's. There was one thing where she told her daughter that it was her grandmother, and then later on they decided she was a young girl in her late teens or 20s. So, wow. All right, maybe those were two different ones. That's a lot of ghosts following them. Maybe ghosts like them.
Well, they sound like they're in tune. There's ghosts everywhere, but they sound like they're in tune.
I don't want to be in tune.
They're not around you, though.
Thank goodness. That could be a lie, and I just don't want that to happen to me. Okay, here we go.
Well, you have a lot of animals, too.
Yes.
Your animals would know.
Oh, okay. This one I remember because it scared me.
Plus, no ghosts want to sit around watching someone knit.
They like it. This one we read a while ago, but I don't know if it got on the air.
I think we're going to apologize if we read it. Is this the balloon?
No, this is the...
I don't think the balloon made it.
I don't remember the balloon, but this one I remember vividly. And if you've already heard it,
we apologize.
Just sit back and too bad because it's worth listening to twice, okay?
Okay.
I work as the clerk for a very small village in Michigan, about 800 people, no stoplights, that kind of small. I've been here for a little over 19 years and have had quite a few weird things happen in our old village hall. It's not an everyday kind of thing, but once or twice a year I have stuff happen that I just can't explain.
I remember this one. I love this one.
I love this one too. There is a police department here in the building, so the cops wander in and out occasionally. And I do get a few walk-in...
What's that noise? Oh, it's a plane. Is that a plane?
Or a motorcycle.
Okay.
And we live in...
Sounded like a growl.
It did sound like a growl, and we do have coyotes, so... Karen's getting excited for that, let me tell you. Okay, so she gets walk-in customers, but 80% of the time, I'm in the building all by myself. When you come into the building, you can turn right and walk into my office, or you can go down straight, and it will take you to the main meeting room. There is a back door to the building, but the outside has no handle to get in, and the door is located inside the police department, which is kept locked at all times. So anyone who comes through the front door has to leave the same way. And I think even last time I said That was such a great description because I could picture it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've heard that twice. One day during the summer of 2015, a woman walked into the building with a small child. It was a girl with long brown hair wearing a red jacket. As they walked into the front door, I heard the little girl chatting away about a mile a minute. The woman turns right and walks into my office while the little girl, who by then had stopped talking, kept going straight and walked out of my sight into the meeting room. The woman sits down in the chair in front of my desk and proceeds to pay her tax bill. We chat for a minute or two about the weather and whatnot. Just everyday chit-chat, nothing in particular that I can remember. But as we were chatting, I was thinking to myself, gosh, that little girl is being awfully quiet. I wonder what she's up to out there. The woman stands up and says to me, have a great day, and heads out the front door. Of course, my first thought was, what the hell? Did she just leave her kid here? I get up, go into the other room, and there is nobody there.
Oh, see, and you know what, too? If I had kids, I'd probably just do that. And I'd say, I didn't walk in with anyone, and I'd just leave them there. And I think we have like a metronome. We have Dodger barking in the back.
I know. You want to either shut that or we'll let him in?
We can do both. We'll do that. Okay.
Now we got him on that side.
Well, I think maybe they can't hear him as much as we can hear him.
Okay.
That's just, we'll bring mom and dad somewhere tomorrow, and when they're embarrassing, we'll go, I think those are ghosts.
That's it. How about this guy? Should I just say his name? Well, that's a long pause.
I know. That's good radio. I think we'll just call him Dave.
Okay, that'll be our nickname. I think that was it.
All right. I think that's okay. No last name, so.
No last name. This is Dave from the Dark Forest story.
Dork Forest, right?
This is a dark forest, but I bet you that the computer...
Because the Dork Forest...
We are in rare form tonight.
Yeah, the Dork Forest is my friend Jackie Cation's fabulous, wonderful... Podcast.
All right. You guys made me laugh when you said I offended it. Oh, I knew what this went with.
Oh, okay. Was there a first part? Did we do it out of order?
The guy that he swore.
Oh, that's right. He swore and the thing went away.
We just have to start this.
Okay. Do you want to do the whole thing again? I think we got 2 good stories in there. We just start this section again.
All right.
People know we're very informal, Sue.
Okay.
They're not expecting a lot when they hear you're out. They're like, oh, this is going to be
nice.
It'd be like hanging out with Sue and her sister. They know
dear.
that mom and dad walk in and then Helga tries to tell a joke.
Oh, the psychic vampire that she is. I'm telling you, she is one.
Okay, so this was a guy that he got bit, right?
Yeah, and he was supposed to be taking a test.
Oh, that's right. And the thing kept telling him he was going to fail the test.
And he was worthless and something. And then he turned and looked and he had a mark.
That was like a bite. And we saw the picture. It was pretty intense.
It was. And then the next day, I think he told him to F off.
And then we made a joke about him.
Because I got to read it out loud in Pounder Hall, even if like old people can. I remember I said it quietly. And that's when we said that he probably offended the ghost. Okay, that's your backstory. Here's the rest of Dave's story now. And probably after that preface, it's the total wrong backstory.
We'll figure it out.
We'll find out. You guys made me laugh when you said I offended it. It reminded me of dealing with hecklers. Oh, no, this is right. Thank you for giving me an outlet to talk about my paranormal experiences. Today, I will tell you a few stories about astral projection. Someone mentioned on the podcast that what attacked me could have been an interdimensional being, which I know wasn't me. It had to be you.
Oh, it was probably me, yeah.
I'm sure
and you
it
know
was.
What? Do you know what astral projection is?
Somebody
Just so
said
that
like
everybody
the
knows?
Matrix?
No. Well, you just leave your body. You kind of go to different dimensions, but you, basically he's out of his body, like conscious, not like a dream. Like he knows he's out of his body and he's astral projecting to another place.
Okay.
Or another
someone
dimension.
mentioned, on the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Because I've read that people who astral project sometimes encounter interdimensional beings. My first experience with astral projection was when I was a teenager. I was really connected to a girl I dated in high school. She would tell me, last night I felt like you were lying next to me. I told her, that's weird because I had a dream I was with you last night. That happened a few times we were together. I had similar experiences with someone I dated later on. In my mid-20s, I liked to go to punk rock shows. but I worked shitty hours. Dave, love that I can swear on here. So I couldn't go to shows that I really wanted to. One night, I had a dream that I was at a show I couldn't make it to. I went to a show the next day, and someone said to me, last night's show was awesome, right? I told them I couldn't make it last night. They said, no, I saw you. You were standing over there. I think I remember this then. He pointed to the spot where I was from my dream. I brushed the incident off to coincidence. Maybe someone looks like me. A few years ago, I worked at a placement for troubled teens. I had to break up fights, stop bullies, and give advice to kids. One night, I had a dream. I was at work, and the next day I went in. Both the kids and the staff asked me if I worked a double from the night before. One of the kids pointed to the spot where they saw me last, and it was the spot from my dream. When I worked at the placement, there was a party I really wanted to go to, but I was working. When I was on break, I went to meditate. I went into a dream state and dreamt I was at the party. In my dream, I hugged the host. Then she told everyone I arrived. Then I came out of the trance, or whatever it was, and was back at work. On my way home from work, I got a text from her. Hey, where'd you go?
Oh, I love this.
During the week, I went, to go and visit her and told her what happened. She pointed to the spot where I hugged her and said, here it is. This is the spot I hugged you. No one else at the party noticed me. The person was an intuitive medium. I also had similar experiences with shared dreams. Thanks for being my paranormal therapist.
That's great. I hope, Dave, if you ever see yourself, it sounds like he's astro projecting pretty safely. Like I say that like I know. It sounds pretty safe because it's working. Because for a minute I wondered if he had a doppelganger. Which is very dangerous, but this is good. All right. Dave, send us more.
That Dave. Well, You know what? Do you think it was the same one? It must have been, right? The offending? Yeah. Okay. This seems so familiar to me, though, too. Okay.
And he writes a good story.
He does. All right. Hi, Karen. First of all, I want you to know how much I enjoy the podcast.
Thank you. I kept that in for a reason.
I've been binge listening for the last couple of days at work. Headphones only, don't worry. Here's my suggestion. Put it on speakers and she'll get even more,
Yay!
I say. All right. I wanted to tell you about the house I grew up in here in Kansas City, Missouri. I and my 5 siblings were raised in a very small one bedroom, 1 bathroom home with attic space making up the second story. It was built in the late 1980s with no foundation. When a new Jackson County courthouse was built in the 1930s, some of the stones from the old courthouse were used to build the foundation and cellar that the house was moved onto. That never seems like a really great idea to me, to move a house, but I could be so wrong. Let's find out.
You know what's funny, though, about the stones? Haunted Mansion, which is one of the most haunted places in North Adams, or it's really, really haunted. And they built, the wall in front is built with the stones that there was a tunnel where a whole bunch of, is it Chinese? Who were we working as slaves at that time in America? Was it Chinese that were building the tunnels?
Could be.
And they all died in North Adams. And someone will email me and straighten this out. And they used those stones from the tunnel that collapsed on the guys to build the wall out at Houghton Mansion. So Houghton Mansion, Houghton Mansion is one of the places where like 5 family members, or I think it was 4 family members died within a 2-week period, like one after the other. It's very, very, very haunted.
And were some of those stones from the place where you and Mom went?
Yes.
Up the hill?
Yes.
Okay. If you haven't seen that, Karen and my mother went up this hill while I sat in the car because I'm lazy. Hoosick Tunnel, where there was a huge accident, and right?
I think so. Yes, and there was a lot of
death.
A lot of death,
but they survived. Amen.
Yes, and Houghton Mansion is the place where I said there was a paranormal team that watched over it, and they wouldn't answer my emails. So I called my cousin Ellen that lives there, and I said, "Hey, do you want to make a video with me about 2 middle-aged women trying to break into a place called Houghton Mansion?" And she goes, "Okay," or I have the key. And I go, what? And she goes, we store school supplies there. So she got us in there for 2 ghost hunts. It was awesome.
And luckily now she doesn't work there anymore, so she can't get fired.
Right.
Since you threw her under the bus. All right. Okay. So.
No, we actually brought the principal and everybody with us. She goes, all right, I'm going to ask some people. And then we had like 20 people that went through.
See, that's the fun.
Yeah.
That's because you're the fun cousin, not so much me. I'll drink your wine and go nowhere with you.
Although I just have to say, Ellen was the one that reminded me that I'm 53, not 52.
Oh, she was not.
She did. I said on Facebook something and then she goes, I think you're 53 because her and I are the same age. And I was like, no. And I was like, shit, I am.
And listeners, let me just let you know that Karen has a bit that goes on and on about how dumb I am because I couldn't.
No, I didn't think you were dumb in that.
You kind of made me sound it.
Oh no, you sounded funny because I didn't know. I threw a party for my 50th birthday party, and then when we were at the party, they had a numerologist that goes, you're 49, and then I called you and I go, didn't you notice when I said I was 50 and you're only 3 years older than me? And you said, I did. But that's your business.
Yeah. So guess what? She tries to stick it with me again last night. Oh, wait. How old am I? I said, I'm not falling for that 2 times. I said, your birth year is 65.
Okay.
2015. Count it up, baby. All right.
So now we're back. So they start again where they were using the stones.
Okay. So they have a teeny house, 5 siblings, a 1-bedroom, bathroom, and some attic space. Yeah. Okay, and it was built in the late 1890s with no foundation. When a new Jackson County courthouse was built in the 1930s, some of the stones from the old courthouse were used to build a foundation and cellar for the house. And her house was moved onto it, if it's a her or him. I don't know. My grandmother and my mother both grew up in the house, and several family members have passed away there. As long as I can remember, I felt uncomfortable in that house. I would often feel like I was being watched, and I would sleep with a rosary under my pillow in case I woke up at night and felt scared.
I think we just got sound effects on this one.
I think it sounds like
your
I live
house
in a city.
Is in the middle of nowhere. I've never heard sirens and motorcycles and dogs.
If we have a siren, we have a million, so be prepared. Shortly before we moved, I had a dream and woke up in my bed in the attic. That I woke up in my bed in the attic with light shining through the windows. In my dream, I started to sit up only to find that I couldn't move. Those are the worst. It was as if my arms were being pinned to the mattress on either side of me. I was struggling and growing increasingly terrified and started to pray. I had no more than the first few words of Hail Mary out when I heard a scratchy voice right next to me, my ear whisper, "He can't hear you."
Oh.
I know, followed by a dismissive chuckle. I woke up with my heart racing and my arms arms at my sides. The sun was shining through the curtains exactly as it had been in my dream. I never said anything to my mother about it, but we moved a few weeks later and I have never felt that oppressive, suffocating feeling again. I wonder what, if anything, was going on in that house, but I know I wouldn't feel comfortable going back to find out.
Wow.
What's that thing also, though, that people get where they wake up and they can't move for about 30 seconds?
Sleep paralysis?
Yes.
Yeah, but
there's no talking.
There's no
ear
talking.
For that.
No. There's no talking during sleep paralysis.
That's a bad thing, too, I bet. But this sounds ultra bad.
That does sound ultra bad. And you know what else is...
I'm glad you moved.
That I moved? She moved. Yes. Whatever. And you know what, too? She's right not to go back because sometimes when people tell me, like, when they have horrible stories like this or Ouija board stories, or I have a friend that when he was in high school, they ran into an abandoned psychiatric hospital, which is the worst.
Right.
Psychiatric hospitals are full of, like, horrible, like, demonic, and he saw something and he won't talk about it. That's as much as he'll tell me because they're afraid they're going to connect with it.
Oh.
And then it will come back. So that's very good not to go back.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I was going to say good girl or good boy, but I won't say those things. All right. Here's another one that you must have you talked about it on your podcast. Okay. So when you discuss the theory of alcohol blackouts as possible walk-ons, I'll have you talk about that for a sec. I have to share a story from college that made me wonder too. So go ahead and tell what.
Okay, so a walk-on or a walk-in is probably, some people call it a walk-in. I call it a walk-on because I made a mistake long ago and I don't correct myself. Is when usually with a walk-in, it's a human spirit, although it can be something else that sort of walks in and takes over the body for a certain amount of time, especially in bars or places where people are drunk. In fact, in one of my podcasts in the beginning, I did the difference between a walk-in, a possession, and an attachment. And a walk-in is usually a short period of time. And it happens often on ghost hunts. Not that often, but often enough. But if he was in a drunk blackout, it was probably that. Because anything can kind of take you over.
Because you're weak.
Because you're weak. Because your aura is compromised.
Okay. I blacked out from drinking only once at college this night. Background. I had dated the same guy throughout college. He was controlling and paranoid type, but a good man.
Those are the best.
Down deep, not deep enough as we broke up. Haha. But that night he claims I was repeating over and over that a friend of his was hot. I would name him by full first and last name and repeat how hot he was. I'm thinking, well, gee, I wonder why he was a pain in the neck to her.
Oh, well, it sounds like she didn't do this every day. It sounds like it happened just in the one.
She's drunk, which maybe is worse. Okay, we're back to it. I would name him by full first name and full last name and repeat how hot he was. The part of this that made no sense to me is that while the friend in question, is that while the friend in question was not attractive, he was absolutely not my type, nor was he the friend I'd call hot if I was telling the truth through the alcohol, so to speak. And calling a guy hot in terms like that really isn't in my vocabulary either. I questioned whether the whole story was made up by my ex just to try and catch me in something that I wasn't actually doing, parentheses, love it. But I heard your episode on walk-ons and it made me seriously wonder because that story stayed with him. I think it legitimately happened, even though myself, quotes, didn't agree with what he had stated.
I think it did. I'm with her.
Yeah, that something walked on.
Yeah, that something, because if she had been...
Okay, this dog's killing me.
You want me to pause it and you can go get the dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, listen back and see.
Okay, I got to figure out how to pause it. Okay, we're back. We think we've quieted the dog, but we're not sure. And I have a ghost story for the end of this.
Okay.
Okay.
My ghost story starts. Oh, it's she or he, whomever says hi. My ghost story starts in 1972 when I was graduating from high school and moved in with my girlfriend. She lived in a haunted house on Green Street in Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh, I remember this one. I like this one.
Oh, okay. That sounded like a growl bark, didn't it? Her room was in the attic, up about 4 flights of stairs. The house was, I remember this, the house was built sometime around the Revolutionary War, we think, and was attached to many rumors as well as spirits. I love it, was attached to rumors. That sounds great. One rumor was that it was part of the Underground Railroad, and a tunnel was behind the dungeon-like basement behind the fireplace. I have no idea if that was true, but I did experience quite a few poltergeists, as well as cold masses that kind of gave off a blue hue. Ooh. Uh-huh. One of these was about the height of a child. Wow. What I would hear a lot of were footsteps coming up the stairs while we were in the attic, only to find no one ever arrive at the door. Once, after some of the guys in the house brought a medium to do a seance, I didn't want anything to do with it, so I left for an hour. When I got home, 2 German shepherds that lived there were missing. Evidently, they were barking a lot, jumped the fence, and disappeared forever when the landlord returned to his room after the fiasco of a seance.
That's weird, but yeah, okay.
There was a 10-pound piece of plaster that fell from the ceiling onto his pillow. Wow, okay. There's many things to talk about in this one. The dogs know right away, man.
The animals always know. And only one case can I remember reading about where animals became possessed.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like that one.
And they were black dogs.
Doesn't matter. Okay. We had never experienced anything falling from the ceiling before. That reaffirmed my belief that this stuff should not be played with by amateurs. Anyway, the fall came. Yeah, guess what? We don't have page.
I got it here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. Good. I'm glad you do, because this is a goodie. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody, that I just did that. Anyway, when the fall came, I went to college and moved out of the house. Every Halloween, the local paper, the Evening Capital, did a story on the place. Always want to
investigate.
Yeah, to see how much of the rumors were true. 12-year-old girl jumped from the attic.
Ugh. To her death. Is that all you have?
That's all
okay, I have the rest.
I
know. I was like, what are you waiting for? Is there a joke coming? That doesn't sound like a funny place for a joke. Okay. I got it on my iPad here. Okay. A 12-year-old girl jumped from the attic window to her death. Slaves being held in the basement on their way to the north. It was all very interesting stuff to her recent high school graduate, but I'm not sure that the place has ever really been investigated. Anyway, I hope I entertained you for a minute or two, and then Courage leaped up. What happened, Courage?
I wonder if Courage did not like that story.
You know what? That was a very entertaining story. So yes, it did. And I think all that stuff about the railroad is true. Can you imagine the intense emotion that would be if you were a slave waiting to escape and you're waiting in this place? Like, I can't even, it's like the tunnels. Whenever there's that much intense emotion, it's crazy. So, God, and the attic and everything, that's crazy. You know what else? When you go to, all that stuff, when you go to, where is it, Gettysburg?
Yeah.
And you go into the old historic buildings, you also notice how small they are. Like, everything is very small, and people were very short at that time. But I wonder why the 12-year-old girl jumped. That's sad.
Well, she's a lot like those German Shepherds, maybe.
We don't worry too much when we older people, but 12 years old? How hard can it? Yeah.
I think maybe there was demonic possession.
And I think the seance aggravated it. Thank you,
Wait,
Jan.
did she do it before? Was she a spirit before the seance, or did she do it after?
No, I thought it was after. I said that she looked up the history. Every Halloween, the local paper, even the Capital, did a story on it. Oh, Courage's leg is tied up. Hang on. We got all kinds of things going on at the same time, folks. Hold on.
Yeah, I think the reason I stopped in the middle of that, dear listener, is because I didn't print everything.
And then here's the last two, and then I'll do my story. But I think we ought to find the balloon story, because I think that was great. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I do not.
Okay.
We'll find it after.
All right.
All right. The title of this is Not Sure About This. Not much of a ghost story. I think I remember this too. These must have been the ones we did and then lost.
And I lost them.
The lost episode. This is a good one. I was a Greyhound bus driver. I had a passenger commit suicide on a bus I was driving. Don't really want to go into the details of that suicide. Later, I was driving that same bus, but with no passengers, empty from the Los Angeles to Kingman trip. Kingman, Arizona, it looks like. All the lights were off inside the bus. It was the middle of the night, and a light at the rear of the bus just came on. I felt a chill. I pulled over, walked to the back, turned the light off, used the restroom, then got back to the driver's seat. Looked back and noticed the light was on again. Needless to say, I was wide awake on that trip. I would be wide awake on that trip.
Yeah, not only that, and I think that's my friend Jim, who won't mind me mentioning him.
It is.
Courage, what is the matter with you? Courage is all over the place. That reminds me, there was a plane crash in, I think it was Japan, and they saved, this is how cheap airlines are. They saved the seats from the crash and put them on other planes. And people on the other planes would walk by and they'd see people in the seats that would just disappear. Like that, they just dissolve. I know.
That would be a plane you'd like to go on, though.
I wouldn't mind that.
See, I'd hate it.
You know why? Because ghosts don't talk to you.
Could you hear the smile in her voice?
Ghosts don't talk to you on the plane.
Okay, I have another one. Again, not sure.
I wrote not sure because these notes are for you. Like, I'm not sure if we did these or not. Folks, what happened?
Again, not sure. I thought these were titles from the people.
No, this was me.
I'm questioning my story.
I did a gig in Binghamton, New York, and you came with me, and we tried to record this 5 times, and I kept losing it. So I think that we didn't do these.
And then we did one at Pounder Hall, too, the next day, I think.
About Mom. We got to get Mom's story on this episode.
She didn't remember it last time. Karen had to prompt her all the way through. Well, not all the way. It was just a little bit. Yeah. All right. I hope this finds you well. I love your podcast.
See,
and I can't wait for
those
more.
in by mistake.
Yeah, she adds those. They aren't even really there. I have a little story for you, and I hope it's to your liking. My sister rented this little yellow house in Redlands, California. For the first few months, nothing happened or nothing that they really noticed, but things slowly started to change. First, they would find ice-cold water on the floor in the bedroom, always in the same spot. Next, the cabinet doors in the kitchen would open all at once. I think I said like the Sixth Sense when I read that last time.
This might be the one I'm talking about that I like so much.
They thought it was my nephew playing jokes and just ignored both the cabinet doors and water on the floor. Then they started to get phone calls, and when they would answer it, either it was static or just an old woman, saying hello, and then the phone would go dead. They figured that it was just a bad connection or bad phone lines, but then things like have changed. I'm not sure what that said. Sorry. I guess I'm going to say then everything had a big change. That'll make it more exciting. It was my nephew's birthday. Yes, you're right. And someone had given him one of those Mylar balloons with happy birthday on it. The balloon was in my nephew's bedroom, and we were sitting in the den watching TV. And as we're watching TV, the balloon comes floating out of the bedroom into the den and floats to the ceiling. We didn't think everything of it. We just figured the balloon was losing air and then floating out to the den because the AC was on. The balloon keeps floating down just a little and then back up to the ceiling, still thinking it's just losing helium, not a big deal. Eventually, my sister gets tired of the noise of the balloon and she puts it back in my nephew's bedroom. She comes back to the den and we all start watching the movie again. It didn't seem that long before the balloon comes floating back out into the den. But this time it hovers about 5 feet from the ground, just kind of slowly floating out to the den. Now we're all sitting there watching this. I'm in the recliner and my nephew and his mom, my sister, are on the couch. The balloon floats over to the couch by where my nephew is sitting and stops. We're all kind of looking at it like, what the heck? And then the balloon slowly turns around until the happy birthday writing is facing my nephew. Oh. We pretty much left the house and left the TV too. On too. And you know what? I remember making the comment, good for these people, because I can't stand it when some weird thing is happening and they have to investigate it.
And call the realtor.
Oh, yeah. You can't sell a murder house, though, I know. For a while anyway.
Now you can sell them for a lot.
Yeah, because people like that.
Now they do, yeah.
It's popular.
Unfortunately.
True. Okay. All right. And now we can go on to the next paragraph. My sister lived there for only 2 years, and she told me that one day when she was heading out the door, she saw an old lady standing in the kitchen. Jeez. She said she was just standing there holding what looked to be an old handbag from the 40s. When she did move out, our brother, who's a cop, said, "Did I ever tell you I got a call to do a welfare check to this house about a year before you moved in? The old lady who lived there passed away in her bedroom." Needless to say, she hated it that he didn't tell her that before she rented it. Thanks, Kathy.
I know. I love that. Do you know I got that story since we tried...
Wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
P.S. I do have a female ghost that lived with us. We have shadow beings that stop by.
Oh.
Some are negative, some are stalkerish, and some seem to just be there. What's that?
Well, a shadow being is something that just looks like a shadow. They usually are very tall. They're between 6 and 10 feet tall, and they're just a big shadow that comes across the room. Usually they're wearing hats for some reason. And there's a couple of theories about them that they may be, I got to do a whole episode on these. They may be like a shadow from another dimension showing through, but they can be interactive. In, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who I couldn't get on, thinks they're jinn. Now, you did not listen to the
Oh,
jinn
I
episode.
did.
Oh, you did?
Because I didn't know it was spelled with a D.
Yeah. Oh, so you listened for spelling errors.
I listened for spelling knowledge.
She freaked me out, and everybody, I think I've said this before. She was so polite, and she contacted me, but she's doing so much stuff. And she said she described the jinn and how they do this, and how they usually are that, or they show up as a mist in your bedroom. And she said, check this out. Then in the lecture, she just goes, and sometimes even more creepy, instead of them disappear, they go back in the closet or under your bed. And I was like, oh,
that's not good.
But I think that she's onto something with that's what shadow people are, is their jinn. I know, kind of creepy. But, yeah, so they're not good, shadow people.
No, and jinn aren't really either.
No, they say they're good, although on a different
what
podcast.
About I Dream of Jeannie? Was she a jinn? Or did she know jinn?
She would have been a jinn. Something,
if she was real?
Right, if she's real. Otherwise, Barbara Eden probably was not a jinn.
But she had such a cool house.
Yeah, and so anyways, but they're very, jinn are very tricky, and the more I listen to Rosemary, I think they're a lot more trouble than we think. And now we're off on a jinn story. I heard this on a different podcast, and I'll tell you inside thing. When I was doing that one on the jinn, I was looking for stories to read at the end, and when I was taping it, I read through this one whole story that was the best written story I had ever seen about a guy that was in Iraq, and he went into this place he wasn't supposed to go to, and the guy said, you never go there because of the jinn. He comes back, he's having trouble, and then it ends with him killing his family. And I was like, whoops, rewind, not on the air. I was
well,
like,
it is now, because that was a nice retelling.
Well, it was such an intriguing story, like all the way. And then I was like, I can't. So I went with other stories on that. But I think that,
I'm glad you saved it for this.
Yeah, but this was a short version. Like otherwise you were so involved, you knew what the family looked like, and it was all this.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think it must have been a hoax.
Right. Okay.
So I was glad to find out it was a hoax. But you might want to listen to the episode with Tracy Huffman and get rid of those shadow people.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are some good jinn. I heard this story about the jinn.
Tell me.
That there was a guy, and he was in Israel for some reason. He was like a diplomat or something, and every morning he'd hear all the pots and pans jingling at like 5 a.m. Something would be like banging on the pans, and he'd go out and nothing was there. And then he asked the locals, and they said, oh, that's a good jinn. They're waking you up because it's Ramadan, and you won't be able to eat when the sun comes up. Isn't that what Ramadan is? And so it was a jinn that was like, you got to get up. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, good jinn. But not a lot of good gin stories.
Just good gin drinks. I know.
Good gin drinks, yeah. All right, is there one more? But I have to say, I've heard 2 balloon stories since this. And I was thinking it's a great light object that a spirit can manipulate. Did I ever tell you about the lady that died in my apartment?
Gross.
Well, not really.
I guess not gross.
But
somebody died in here, so.
Oh, yeah.
Just passed.
Just passed. Right. Well, and this is so weird because I have lived on the same street that I live on 3 times. I have moved 3 times. Like I used to live across the street, and then I used to live up the street, and now I live across from my first place. And I remember one time walking by and being like, oh my God, this place is so nice. I could never afford it. And I saw this woman outside, and I asked her about the place, and she was so nice. And she was like, we love it here, and I've lived here for 20 years and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, too late, cat is in here. That's the way we know no jinn are in here. I moved to a guest house. I have to get out of it quick because their dog got really aggressive.
Oh.
Right? So first call I make is back to this place to see if I can afford it. Now it's probably 10 years later. I'm the first one in line for the apartment. I walk in, the guy is showing me the apartment, and I go, did somebody die here? And the manager's face turns white, and the workman starts giggling because he's an old Russian guy, and he starts laughing. And I go, it's okay, you can tell me. Turns out it's the apartment of the woman that I talked to 20 years ago. She lived in the same apartment. And the first night when we moved in, Courage was really sick. And I remember the closet door opened on its own, but it wasn't scary, but it was like she was worried about him. Well, so now I live in this apartment, vegan, animal rights, liberal Democrat. I get all her mail still. She gave money to the ASPCA to save the horses. She must have been vegan like me. And I get all this Democratic mail with her name on it. So it's like, I know, isn't that weird? But I have a really good ghost story for the folks as we close out. Or do we have one more?
We have one more, but you want to tell yours?
No, because it's going to freak you out.
Oh, and I have to sleep in my own home tonight, so maybe
it's not in your home though, but we'll do that one and we'll tell it.
Since I was a little girl, I would wake up crying and calling for my mom because I constantly dreamt that people were standing at my bed and staring at me while I slept. Ugh. Sometimes I'm always groaning and commenting on these things. Sorry,
That's
people.
all right. I think it gives to the mood.
Sometimes it was one person. Sometimes it was several. They were no one I knew, all strangers. My mom would have to pray with me every night to protect me from having bad dreams. I have dreams like that even in adulthood. Once I had a lucid dream where I asked the person to please go away and he shook his head no. I was so exhausted I just went back to sleep. Once when I was starting to date someone, he told me that he was clairvoyant. I did my best not to laugh because I don't really believe in the extent of clairvoyance, existence maybe. On that particular night, he cooked dinner and we were drinking wine. He asked me if I wanted to stay over and swore he wouldn't try anything funny because I was inebriated. I said, okay. And we fell asleep on the same bed. In the same bed.
I was going to say we could put in a little public service announcement. Notice no drinking and driving.
Yes, I was thinking that too. When I woke up, he was in the bed, he wasn't in the bed, but was sleeping on his couch. Let's find out what happened. I asked if everything was okay, and he asked me if I had any redheads in my family. I said that I didn't. He told me there was a giant redheaded man standing over me as I slept, and that when the redheaded man recognized that my date saw him, the redheaded man said, "You better not touch her."
Oh, it was the brawny paper towel man.
I'm still weirded out about this, and now I believe it's possible for someone to be clairvoyant. And guess what else? Now she cannot be so nervous about these people that won't leave her, that stand over her, because maybe they're going to clean up after her mess. No, I mean, maybe they're watching out for her.
Oh, yeah, I bet they are. I did a Reiki session on someone, and usually, Reiki is all about light and love, and it's about bringing in angels and everything. And so this woman was lying on my Reiki table, and I do the Reiki session, and something comes over, and it points the finger in my face. I see this in my head, and it goes, "You better be careful," like the thing was checking me out, and then it backed off. And I was like, okay, so we finished the Reiki session, and I said, there's a lot of, for some reason, I'm going to do an episode on this, on Santeria, which is a kind of a, there's a bunch of different forms. She had been from Cuba, and I said, "Did anyone in your family do Santeria?" And she said, "My grandfather was the high priest of all blah blah blah." And and I go, "Man, he sent something to watch over you that checked on me before I could do any Reiki." And she was like, "Oh my God, that's so true. He gave me this ring." And I know.
Was she giving you a test?
I don't know. I guess she didn't know it was there, but I certainly didn't know it was going to show up. Like, I've never seen anything like that. So that's a little, interesting that something's watching over you. Yeah. So here's my scary ghost story before we go.
I thought that was it.
No, this is a little bit more creepy. When I was a kid, I only liked Mrs. Beasley. Remember Mrs. Beasley? And I had a little witch doll. Do you remember the witch doll named Emerald?
Yes, I think I do.
And you would shake her, and she was purple, and the green eyes would light up.
Oh, I think I do remember that.
Right? So I loved that witch doll. Uh-oh.
Yeah, they like this. No, there's people out there.
Okay. All right. So I always kept that doll. That was the only thing. I don't own anything from my childhood. I kept that doll. It went with me to college. It moved with me to Vegas. And then when I moved from Vegas to San Diego, I lost the doll. It wasn't there. And then I moved to LA, and I went home, and then Mom and Dad were selling our Ellen Gate Ave house.
Yeah.
No. They were moving out of the South Street house.
Yes.
So they're going through that attic with all the stuff in there. And Mom goes, "You know what? I just found this. Do you want it?" And she pulls out the doll. No way.
Why was it there?
What? I go, where was it? It was in the attic. So somehow when I moved from Vegas to San Diego and the doll disappeared, it popped up in the attic in Pittsfield.
That's weird.
I know. And so guess what I have now?
Oh,
My favorite
It's not
doll.
here, is it?
No, it's in Los Angeles.
Keep it there.
I know. Isn't that amazing? That was my favorite doll. I know.
I don't think. Oh yeah, I do have things from when I was little, but only accidentally.
That's the only thing. So it time traveled back. Okay. All right, everybody. That's Ghost
It
Stories.
was
with
time
Sue.
traveling back, people.
It was.
All right, we covered them all.
We covered them all. Please send us more ghost stories. I'll be back in November. We'll do another taping of Ghost Stories with Sister Sue in November.
Without animals and interruptions like that. Not Courage. I'm talking about.
No, but
my
look
dog,
at Courage is
Barker.
finally sacked out after walking around for the whole
It's a
thing.
lot of work.
Oh
for
my
him.
God. Yes, thanks for listening. We're going to have Pat play the for my
theme?
birthday.
Well, we'll put it on.
All right, we'll put
Oh,
put
yes,
on the
your
end.
birthday tomorrow. How old are you going to be?
53.
53?
I don't know.
I do.
I don't care. All right, everybody. Thanks. Leave me a review wherever you can. Please send me your ghost stories, conspiracies. I got a couple backed up. I want to get enough for another episode. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Did I forget anything? You can go to karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com.
5-star reviews.
5-star reviews. You can get a reading if you go to my website.
Follow on Instagram
Follow on Instagram at Rontowski, also Twitter at Rontowski.
and Facebook
And Facebook, Karen Rontowski.
to see your minute.
To see my web series, Paranormal Karen. This is very funny. And also, if
And
you
she's
are...
very modest.
And I'm very modest. In the Burbank area, the last weekend of October, come see the Halloween show with Lamont Ferguson, where we do an hour of stand-up, and then we read tarot cards for the crowd.
Which is my favorite, but I won't be there, but it still is my favorite, the tarot card thing.
That is a fun show. All right, everybody, thanks. Take it away. Paranormal Karen.
Never. It's the worst song ever. Cha-cha-cha.
People are always asking me, Karen, you are so knowledgeable about tarot, ghosts, and otherworldly spirits. How do you stay so organized and grounded here on Earth? And I have to tell them my secret weapon. It's black tourmaline. And Nita over at nitaapple.com. After years of complaining about all the text messages and emails back and forth, trying to schedule tarot readings and chasing after payments, Nita installed Acuity Scheduler on my website, and now I just get a little ding on my phone, and that tells me someone has made an appointment and the money is already in my account. I love that little ding, except every time it goes off, Courage runs to his food bowl. 5 minutes with Nita can save you 5 hours of bumbling around and trying to do things yourself. So if you spend 10 minutes with her, that'll save you like 72 hours or something like that. I don't know, I'm not good with math, but you know who is? Nita. That's who I would ask. Want to end all the emails back and forth and get paid up front when clients schedule time with you? Then hop on over to nitaapple.com/services and let Nita get you set up with a simple system that will make your life so much easier. Use coupon code BOO4U and get 20% off any products or services. She's got a lot of services and products that can save you time and money. That's BOO4U, all lowercase, BOO, the number 4, the letter U, and get 20% off. That's Nita Apple at nitaapple.com/services. nitaapple.com/services, and make your life easier today.